Um, I'll leave it open for now. We'll see how we do. Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and start. And since it's small, we're gonna go off script. So, uh, you're. Does everybody understand the prophetic in the room, or is this new to everyone? Understand? New to you. New to you. Okay, awesome. I want to because I have very basic. I can go off script and go deeper, but we will keep it with the basic. Okay. Um, I am Jen Dean. I am originally born in Mississippi, raised in Michigan, lived in Ohio for 10 years, been out here for 7 years. That's a whole God story in itself. We visited in 2018. My husband got off the plane and said, I want to move here. And I said, no. Literal voice of God has got to speak to me because I like the sunshine. Year and a half later, here we are. And so I don't know that I heard the audible voice of God, but um, yeah. And so here we are. I have been walking with the Lord for 16 years. Prior to that, I met my husband at a bar in Michigan. He was in a rock band. So everything you can think of that comes with being in a rock band, we were about it. He had an episode where he was hearing voices telling him to try to kill me. And his family was in church, and we weren't of it. The pastor asked me if I'm different, feeling different. Just been on a journey since then. We started out in a little Pentecostal church and have changed to a non-denominational since being with Jesus. And during that, I learned that I could hear God's voice, but kind of in the sense that we all think. Like, I pray, sometimes things happen, so God's talking to me, right? Um, but I learned He talks to us in different ways. So I like to say recognizing God's voice instead of hearing God's voice, because that really boxes us in to think that we have to prophetic, dove into it and practiced. I would hear for myself. I would hear for other people around me. Sometimes I would tell them, sometimes I wouldn't. And just kind of grew in recognizing what his voice sounds like and what it looked like to speak through me. So we're going to go over 6 practical ways that God you can speaks. I have a handout with all 6 on it, so you don't have to write those down. You can just take notes on what you want. Make it easy on you. Before we begin with those 6 ways, I want to put us all on the same foundation of this is what my core values of God is, and it makes it easier for you guys to understand where I'm coming from when I teach this. Number 1, God is good. You can only pay a price that high for people that you find good. And He found us good before we even knew Him. Core value number 2 is God is love. 1 John 4:19. We love because He first loved us. We don't have to earn His love. He loves us regardless. And He never stops loving us. Core value number 3, God is not angry. 1 Corinthians 13:4 through 7. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Knowing that He is not angry teaches us that it requires His eyes to see the brokenness, not just in other people as gold, but in ourselves as gold. He doesn't see that. And the core value number 4 is God has good plans for us. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope. God has plans for our welfare and our blessing. So His plans for us are always for our future and always good. All right. The first way we're going to talk about is called the still small voice. The still small voice can be a passing thought, a passing word. You could be walking by someone and you hear afraid. You're not afraid, but you hear the word afraid as you're walking by someone else. Or a passing impression. So you're driving and you feel like you should go straight instead of turn. So those are all versions of what God's still small voice sounds like. A thought, a word, or an impression. Does anybody ever, do you ever get that feeling? Like maybe you wouldn't say, I heard the Lord told me to do this, but I felt like I should do something. Does everybody resonate with that? That is what we would call his still small voice speaking to us. So we're gonna do some activations. Be honest. In the last session, somebody struggled and waited and waited and waited, and then finally was like, I'm not hearing anything. So we stopped and we were able to walk through that. So I want you to be honest with yourself and with me, because we can always stop and perform or do anything. So I'm gonna have you close your eyes. I'm going to have you take a deep breath. Now in your mind, say your first and last name, not out loud, just in your mind. Now that is what the Lord's voice can sound like in your mind. It sounds like yours, but it's not. So I'm gonna have you take another deep breath. I'm gonna have you ask the Lord for one word that describes how He sees you. And then write that word down. Often we pass over words or sentences shared with us in our mind because we think it's just me. But a good way to judge that is if it's spontaneous, random, if it's something really big and great about yourself, like it's most likely not yourself. Sounding is not God or yourself, but the enemy. We don't naturally think of those things. We often get them thrown at us, at our mind, from the enemy. All right, save that word. We're going to go back to it later. The next way God speaks is through dreams. How many do you guys have dreams that you feel like God has have given you direction? You're like, they can be from pizza. Often dreams from God, they reveal something, a part of his plan, something about our future, maybe something happening in our lives in that moment. When we're sleeping, we're not dealing with questions, our minds are shut off, and he's able to speak directly to our spirits. They can have simple meaning, pretty clear and simple. They can be symbolism, so the numbers, colors, animals represent things. An example would be Joseph's dream about the stars, moon, and sun. They were interpreted that the stars and the moon was his parents, or the sun and the moon was his parents, the stars were his siblings. Example of that would be Nebuchadnezzar's dreams. Daniel was gifted in dream interpretation. Often like your spirit's being cleansed from some things you've walked through. Sometimes people have dreams about their high school, a time in your life, whether it's going back to childhood, a new place you're going. Cars often represent mobility, so it could be ministry, it could be business, your career, things like that. I know one time I had a dream that someone was trying to steal my car, and I was actually interviewing for a job, and come to find out somebody had submitted a person to come in and try to interview for that job too, and so in those moments sometimes it's kind of left up to you. God's like, do you want the job then? That was his question to me, and I'm like, I don't know. Do I want the job? Do I want to fight for this, or do I want this person to go ahead and take it? In the dream, they weren't successful in taking my car. In real life, after the second rounds of interview, I I knew I didn't wasn't getting that job. There was a lot of other things at play, and it's been a blessing not to have that job. So dreams can have simple meanings and more complex meanings. The next type we're going to talk about is visions. So there's visions of the mind and then outward visions. We're going to talk about visions of the mind. In the book of Daniel 4:13, he says, I was looking in the visions in my mind as I lay on my bed. It's just a way of saying I had a picture in my mind, both for yourself or if you're prophesying to other people, they can show you pictures. So let's do another activation on that. I'm gonna have you close your eyes. I'm gonna have you picture a purple pineapple. Raise your hand when you see a purple pineapple. Now I'm gonna have you picture a pink elephant. Let me know when you see a pink elephant. All right, we're gonna go even simpler. I'm gonna have you picture yourself and you're all dressed in white. White pants, white top. Then raise your hand when you have that. Now I want you to ask the Lord to give you a picture of what you look like in heaven. And then write that down. Some people you see themselves in a certain position, like kneeling, standing. Some people see the clothes that they're wearing, anything from armor to is anybody struggling to see what they look like in heaven? This is where some other people got stuck. Yeah. Okay. Holy Ghost, I just ask you to come right now. I ask you just to sweep over every person in here. Touch their eyes and their ears and their heart and their minds. Let the images of heaven just fill their hearts and minds. Yes, is perfect and complete. If anyone's seeing something other than a picture in heaven, we had this last time too. Like they were seeing colors instead of pictures.
I see grass,
Okay.
like grass, and I see just like a subject, an illuminated like person, light around them, and it's just moving. So I see what I guess could be interpreted as heaven, but I don't see me. It's like I'm from the outside.
Okay, so what do you see looking in?
Like a gate, and it's like I can see like into a window. It's like
I wouldn't say clouds, but like when people have like a fog machine,
Hmm.
and it's just like along the floor,
Uh-huh.
but it's not like covering everything. It's just
Yeah.
like a subtle.
So you see a gate. Can you see through the gate, or is it like solid?
It's not solid. I can see through, but it's just like smoke.
So could you walk up in the image, like if you went, close your eyes, go, can you walk up to the gate? Can you touch the gate? Because you said you're there. It's
It's
just
like I
that
can walk up to it, but
hmm
I can't get close enough to it.
you can't get close enough to touch it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna close your eyes again. This is good. So you're picture yourself in front of the gate. Can you picture Jesus in front of the gate?
I can see like a figure.
Mm-hmm. Can you walk up to the figure? Can you stand beside it? It doesn't have to be clear. Okay. Okay. Can you say, Jesus,
Jesus,
will you open the gate in front of me?
will you open the gate?
Let me see what you see.
Let me see what you see.
See myself. Wow.
Do you see flowers inside the gate?
No, it's just really bright.
Okay.
It's really, it's like a cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just
So have you just say, Jesus,
Jesus.
will you clear out the smoke so I can see the garden?
Will you clear the smoke so that
You said you were able to see yourself now.
Yes. I see all these colors. And it's just, I see my face, and the colors are like coming in and out around my face. And I can see like a smile. And I can see my nose. And it was like colors, like green. And they just vibrating around me. Colors. Just colors. Beautiful. Just write it down.
Yep. What about you? No pictures? Okay. And okay. And this is new to you, right? Okay. Maybe close your eyes again. Do you have a favorite place outdoors you like to go to? Whether it be a coffee shop or a park or something?
Mm,
Do you have a favorite room in your house or
yes.
okay, how about you go there? Picture that. Go in that room. Is there a chair you like to sit in that room?
Mm,
Just find a comfy place to sit in the room. Let me know if you can picture that. No? Okay. Okay. Can I ask your name?
Najee.
Najee. Are you from Oak Harbor?
No, no.
Okay.
Me.
Okay. How long have you been stationed?
Since 2023.
Okay. So fairly new. Newer than others? Yeah. Okay. How long have you been in Oak Harbor? 2023?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Where's home?
Um,
Florida. Where in Florida?
Red Wave.
Where's that about?
It's close to West Palm Beach.
Okay. Okay. What do you like to do for fun?
Work out.
Work out? What's your favorite? Do you have friends you go to the gym with? Or do you like to work out alone? I know a lot of people who lift weights like to work out alone.
I work out alone.
Okay.
Here.
Okay. What's your favorite color?
Like,
Black. What's your favorite meal?
pasta.
Pasta. Any kind of pasta, give it to you, or
For the most part, yes.
for the most part? Well, that's why you lift weights, right? So you can have all the pasta. Yeah. Okay. Good. Is this your first time talking with God about like pictures and how he sees you, or is, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Did you get a word the first time?
No.
No. Okay. Thank you for being honest. Yeah. It's hard. It's hard the first time. I remember the first time for me, I would be in my head and I would have a bajillion words going on, and I would be like, I don't know if this is God or not. And then finally, I just got over myself, and would start to act on them. You know, well, he said, I can do this, or he said, I'm a queen. A picture one time I had an ornate sword full of jewels and things like that. Um, people have been in, like I said, armor. Um, a fun story I shared the first session. I had a picture of a guy in heaven, and he had a sleeve of tattoos. I know that's controversial for people, but that's how I seen the Lord showed me he was in heaven. And this guy in real life did not have any tattoos, nor did he want any. So I shared the word with him, and like most people who were like, "Oh, okay, great." Um, it was probably 3 to 4 years later. He messaged me, and he got his first tattoo. His dog passed away. He never thought he'd get a tattoo, and he got his first tattoo. And then I think it's been 3 years since that, and he has multiple tattoos. So don't, I think a lot of times, and that's why I talk about like recognizing his voice, is we box ourselves in and what should we look like? Should we look like flowy white grounds and pretty suits and things like that? And it's no. I mean, God sees us how he created us, and we're all unique. So the idea that we all look the same way, even just go home. I won't put any pressure on you to do it here, but just ask him again when you get home for a word or a vision of how he sees you, and be easy with yourself in the idea that you could look a lot different than what you do here
Mm-hmm.
in heaven, and it doesn't have to be a big box. It could be a lot of different things, like the guy who has a sleeve of tattoos. God's seen that before that guy even had it in his heart, and that's how he's seen him in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So um we'll keep going in the essence of time here. Scripture is another way. I know that's kind of an obvious thing, but I think we miss a lot of those soft pauses. You know, you're reading through something in scripture and you're like, wait, what? I didn't know that was in here. Or, you know, some words or a particular verse really pop off. That is the Lord inviting you into a conversation with Him, and that's Him speaking to you. Another, so circumstances being you're in the right room at the right time. I didn't want to go to this event, but I ended up meeting this person, and he opened the door for this to happen in my life. Circumstances are often directed by God. And the opposite way too, where I really don't want to go to this event. I didn't go. Good thing I didn't. It would have been a waste of my time. Like, He has your best interests in personal life, in your work life, family life, and all those things He can direct. The next way is creation. For since the creation of the world, His invisible attributes, creation are His invisible attributes, His eternal power and divine nature has been clearly seen. He put nature, creation, for us to see and for Him to speak. The mountains speak of His strength, flowers of His beauty. We know that rainbows remind us of His promises after a storm. The dove often symbolizing Holy Spirit and Comforter. So nature is always speaking. So a couple examples that kind of amplify this. I talked about we moved here. I needed the voice of God to speak to me. A lot of things transpired. Actually, we have time. I'll share the whole story with you guys. Um, so we had decided to move, and we owned a home. And my husband was like, "We need to sell. We need to sell." And I'm like, "I don't know if it's the right time." And I had been praying with the Lord, and He told me very clearly. I seen pictures and like a still small voice in my head. It's time to move. And I go, what does that mean? And so, like anything prophetic, um, you kind of just, it's a kind of like a try, show and tell, right? I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I started looking up hot air balloon festivals. And we took all summer and went to 8 different hot air balloon festivals. None of the balloons went up. And at 8, and I mean all over the state of Ohio, we were crazy. They didn't go up. Well, there's one more in our hometown. And we're like, oh gosh, this is the last one. Now what? So we called friends up and we all went to this festival. And honestly, at this point, my husband and I are like, I don't know if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, but we'll do it. The balloons went up. It was great. 2 months later, we listed our house, got a cash offer in 7 days, and moved out in 15 days. A year later, we moved here. And so through that, the Lord, I would see blue herons everywhere. And we lived in the city. And it's like, herons are supposed to be around water. What is this? We're in Columbus. We are not around water. And so I thought, man, I should look up what a heron. So I Google it. You know, there's truth in everything that is out there. It's just finding what God's truth is. From Native American cultures who have symbolisms and beliefs of animals representing things, there's an underlying truth in that, to different other cultures too. And so I would look up blue herring, and it talked about peace, grace, wisdom, new beginnings, and transformation. And when I read new beginnings, I was like, oh, that hits. That I felt something. So I sat with the Lord day after day on that. So every time I seen a blue herring, I knew that He was preparing us for new beginnings during that time after the balloons went up and we sold our house and we prepared to move here. So He used creation to speak to us. Another one, and I actually was preparing this to do this talk to do for a business group in Bellevue, and a blue heron came and landed on a palm tree in the middle of our yard in Kirkland. You know, it was just such a confirmation again of one, new beginnings, because I hadn't done this talk for a business group yet, and two, of just like, you know, the amazing things He does with creation to talk to us. Another one, Okay, so once God used hawks to speak to me. On a Sunday when I was driving, one of those like double takes as you're driving really quick to make sure you've seen what you've seen. And then we got a couple miles down the road, 20 minutes later, same situation happened. And I'm like, what is going on? Once, okay, two times, what are we doing? So again, I looked up hawks and what they mean in, the general sense of symbolism, wisdom, global view, leadership, power. And in that time, the Lord was using hawks to speak to me about leadership. And as I was preparing again this message for business class, a hawk came and landed on our patio in the middle of Kirkland and stared in our back door. So, like his confirmation of leadership 7 years ago, he used again just this year again. So he's always speaking with creation. You guys, did that like spark anything? And anybody's like, oh, maybe the Lord was speaking to me. Yeah. Do you have an example?
As you was talking, I was thinking about, I had a dream about an alligator, or I know it was a reptile, but it was I don't know, it was a crocodile or an alligator, and I was getting ready to go to a prophetic conference, but it was virtual, and this dream was on the couch that I was sleeping on, and when I saw the alligator was as long as my kitchen and my living room, and it was looking at me, just staring at me, just staring at me, and I watch wildlife um, documentaries, and they always say with a reptile or alligator or crocodile, be aware of their tail. So when I woke up from the dream, I was like, this is crazy. So I did a study on what crocodiles do, what they are, what their characteristics are, what they eat, how they hunt. And lo and behold, I went to this virtual conference and it was in my house. I was screaming at the TV because what I had found out about the crocodiles, this prophetess, her name is Prophetess Keisha. She began to talk about everything I had wrote down about whatever, and then I said, and I asked God, what is the meaning? I never knew that crocodiles um, they were a community animal. They watch all the animals that are lame, and they just do this every single day until they attack you. So what the dream was telling me that, and they're communal and they're together, and they have more than one. One is always, they're a communal animal. So when they attack you, there are others waiting to attack you. And at that time, I was going through a lot in my family, and I was being attacked by my own family members. So God was showing me in a dream this big alligator in my living room and in my kitchen, and I'm sitting there, and he was looking, and his tail was facing that way, and I was like, what is this thing? And if they hit you with their tail, they knock you down, and then they're able to drag you into the water.
Mm-hmm.
So what I gathered from Prophetess Keisha, I was just like, this is incredible, because I didn't know it was called activation at the time. I know you probably heard of Apostle John Eckhart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was something he was doing, an activation, and I was so in awe that God showed me in the dream. And then, like now, when I have dreams, I start to pay attention to them. If they don't make sense to me, I ask God, whatever. Like I had a dream about my son the other day, and I kept remembering it yesterday when I got home, and I said, God, what are you saying? And I said, you know what? I'm just going to renounce this dream. I am not going to come in agreement. I come out of agreement. I denounce any form of any kind of calamity or anything that's, the enemy is trying to show me. And I'm like, I don't. But the one dream about the crocodile was amazing. The crocodile was amazing. So that really helped me understand a lot about how God is warning us about family. And I mean, after that dream, family was making all kind of accusations, but he was just giving me a warning to be prepared.
Mm-hmm. There's an old prophet. He's passed away now. His name is John Paul Jackson.
Yes, I know him.
And so I learned a lot about dream interpretation from him.
Yes.
His books and his YouTube videos.
Oh, and I watch him, and I watched him when he was talking about, and I take a lot of notes, and he was talking about the spirit realm, how we should not fight in the spirit realm
Oh,
because
Casualties of War.
the casualties of
Yep.
war, and
Love
we
that.
are fighting. We shouldn't fight like it was just. It just made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a really good teaching. He has a good teaching on strongholds too.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to look him
His
up.
strongholds one is one I've not heard since I've heard him teach it. So
Yeah,
strongholds of the mind and stuff.
awesome man, John
Yeah.
Paul. What's his last name?
John Paul Jackson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very good looking man. Very.
White hair.
I was like, boy, he
Yeah.
was so fine. I said, oh, his wife was glad.
Did a nature thing pop up for you guys that you're like, huh, maybe?
So I feel like this gives me
Oh.
this,
I'm sorry. 15 minutes.
Great. I love it.
I think it just reminds me to be more like aware of my surroundings.
Mhm.
Things that could be aware from it. Just like I was laying in the bed and I don't know if I can't remember what I asked. Like I needed to do something. Like I needed to either respond to somebody, and in my mind I was gonna be like real snarky or something. I remember I needed to do something, and I was like, God, and I was laying in the bed, and if I look out my window, like there's trees or whatever, and as soon as I said, you're gonna have to show me, like the tree just like it was moving like it was moving in the wind, and I was moving, like only the tree that was like directly in my vision. I was like, okay, well if that was the wind, all the other trees would be moving, were like moving like they were swaying in the wind. And that's the only thing I could think of is like creation.
Yeah.
Like exactly at that moment, I was like, you're gonna have to show me something. And it just started moving like it was moving in the wind. But no,
No? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I said I love sunshine. You know, we go out to the coast often. I always am like, Jesus, let it be sunny out here. And often when I'm praying that and we get there and it's not, the Lord speaks to me even more when we're there. And like, it's so much more refreshing than the sunshine ever would be. Using creation to just still, comfort us in ways that we wouldn't think of, because He always knows what we need beside that. And so, yeah, I think creation is one of my favorite ways to just experience God. Uh, Even I don't know, like I even took it to the extreme of call it extreme. We're supposed to have creation is subject to us, but what does that look like, Lord? And so like I heard you could train ravens and um, blackbirds, and so like I've been trying to train them, and it's not working. They have not brought me anything. And then I was like, oh, I heard squirrels can do it too. No, so far nobody has brought me anything. But like they recognize me, right? They recognize voices, and I'm so just enamored by that, like that creation can recognize our voice even, and that's how God created it to be. Like we have dominion over the earth and over creation. And so like him using it to speak to us and things like that. And like John Paul Jackson, we talk about the weather, and we should not be, yeah, we should not be messing with the weather system. So like creation, it's just a fun place to encounter God. I want to talk about, what do you do after you hear God gives you a prophetic word or you receive a word from the Lord, is write them down and use them as a declaration. So like you received a word earlier from the Lord about, who He says you are. And so turn that into a declaration. So an affirmation is something that's already true. And I love to put them on index cards and put them on the mirror. Like in my office, I have people I pray for, their names are wrote on index cards. And then I have words that I've been given either directly from the Lord or from other people. And they're there for me to declare, repeat out loud, because, we just talked about creation, but that's what the prophetic is. It's speaking. Saved me in feeling like I'm going crazy, or, we went through a tough patch, hard time during my marriage because he had an ex-wife and 3 kids, and there's the whole mess that comes with that sometimes, and it's hard, but having a word from the Lord that tells you, your marriage is protected, and God got me through those hard times. And so having a word about who you are helps to solidify who He says you are more than it's good when other people can tell you, but when you hear it, and it's from the Lord, then I don't have to worry about, well, nobody's giving me a prophetic word, and 6 months. Like, God, are you still there? I know I can talk to him and he can tell me who I am. And so taking those and turning it into a declaration and also a prayer. Like, if you don't feel like you walk in that, like um I always knew that I was called to the business and governmental realm and didn't necessarily have a picture. I mean, I have pictures because we see lots of prophets who are called to those realms and what that looks like. But does that, do I walk in that same way? And so, like, knowing I'm struggling to believe this. Well, you've called me to this position. You have called me to this. You have said, this is who I am. And so having those in front of you when you hear them from the Lord. So I just want to invite you, the words you got, or if you didn't get, but go back, and I have complete confidence within for the end of the weekend, the rest of the week, you'll continue to get more words. Ask him to expound on it. Like, if he said, you're beautiful, what about me is beautiful? What other things do you see in me, and how do you see me? Like, and then turn those into prayers and then declarations as you go. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions specific about the prophetic? Like, I know I'm teaching you guys to hear for yourselves. If you have something about like prophesying to others or anything like that, I can talk to that too, if you have any questions.
I'm prophetic. And I noticed I was prophetic from by the age of 10. There's things I knew that I didn't understand. Like you say, I grew up in a home. Well, we weren't in church until maybe I got 12, 13. But I saw things and I used to say, I'm weird. And I was the outcast. And I would see things. And I remember when I lived here, this is my second time coming back, but this time I lived here 15 years and I was going to a church before Living Faith was, and I had a dream about the pastor because I had just moved out here. I was getting a divorce, and me and my 3 kids, we moved to Oak Harbor Road, and I was supposed to be at church, and then I had this dream, and when I went to church, everything I dreamt about the pastor said exactly what I saw in the dream. And I was like, so what are those like confirmation dreams where God is telling you? It wasn't, because I used to be afraid of a lot of leadership, because one of the things that the enemy used from childhood is fear. And a lot of people don't know, if you grow up in a family where there's no love demonstrated in the way. So I grew up with a father who was a bully, but it was very subtle. But because when you're a child, you can't question things or whatever. But after a while, I noticed that was a pattern. He grew up, I grew up around a bully because maybe things were in his life weren't dealt with. So I was and I was kind of an odd child. Um, my parents, made it seem as though I was problematic, but it's because I'm prophetic.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't problematic. I was prophetic. But back in the 60s and 70s, 80s, nobody talked about prophetic until we come into the 21st century, and now we're in the it's because time is going so quickly that God is having his prophets and things. But so you have like that, and then I have had demonic dreams. When I was married to my ex-husband. I'm not married to him anymore. I've had dreams of where this one time, and I just thought it was crazy. And I had this one dream, and then I woke up from the dream, and I don't know if you remember Carmen. He used to have, and he had this video out called The Witch's Brew. In my dream, I saw that same spirit in my dream. When I seen his video, I was like, this is bananas. Because the same spirit I saw in the dream, I saw on his video. And are those dreams that are either preparing you or letting you know a calamity is coming, or God is confirming a certain thing? Maybe you have trepidation about something. Is that God saying, I'm letting you know that I see and I hear and I feel what you feel, so I'm giving you confirmation or comfort. Is that how God is speaking?
I'm gonna, the answer is yes to all of those.
Yeah.
And because it requires partnership with him. So sometimes, yes, he's just giving you the dream, it happens, it's confirmation. Sometimes he's giving you the dream because he wants you to pray about it and partner with him, you know, that relationship aspect to change what's happening.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to like the prophetic, you know, our voices help to change the atmospheres. Coming to happen, but not feel like the Lord invited me into prayer with it.
Sure.
So it came to pass and it just was, but then I've had knowings about things coming to happen where I knew I was supposed to pray about them. So it's always a relationship with him.
Yes.
Do you want me to act on this, or is this just?
Need to pray about.
Yes.
Because I still have dreams, and you know, not as like last night I was driving home, and I was just driving home, and I was just praying, and I was weeping, and I said, God, let me know that you're pleased with me, and I was weeping, you know, when you go into those weep sob prayers, and I was saying, God, I just want to know that you're pleased with me. I haven't heard the confirmation yet, but I know he will.
Yes.
So
yes, it's a yes, and it's always about
and
relationship.
come into partnership when you have, and in the dreams that are not from God, those I renounce.
Yeah, we just flush them.
I just denounce them. I don't come in agreement with them, you know. And then when you get a chance, I'll tell you about something else that is really crazy.
Okay.
So
Can I ask your name? Kia.
Mhm.
I keep hearing the word grace over you. You carry a grace for other people, and one that you need to allow yourself to step into and have grace for yourself. But you are really good about having grace for other people, loving them in their mess and where they're at, and with no, you know, restrictions or expectations on them, and letting them be as they come into who they are. And so, and you have that gift inside of you to call them into who they are in prayer with God, and in the prophetic too. So.
amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right, can I pray over you guys?
Yeah.
Jesus, I just thank you for these three. Thank you for their hearts, their openness, their vulnerability today, God. I just ask that you would touch their ears, Holy Spirit, touch their eyes, touch their hearts, their minds. That it's easy to commune with you, God, that they can just step in, hear your voice, recognize your voice, see with you at any time, and that you are longing to just commune with them, to have a conversation with them about your heart for them and who you called them to be. Because you have called them royal priesthood. You have called them loved. You have called them your own. And I just thank you for them and their hearts. In Jesus' name.
Amen. And do you have social media, or you don't do social media?
I'm on Instagram.
You on Instagram?
Yeah, it's just Jennifer Dean 07.
Oh, Jennifer Dean.
My full name.
Instagram, IG.
Yes. Here, I'll give you guys these. And these are everything I went over kind of in
Thank
like
you.
yeah. So you can take it home and
You did say. I was writing down.
sorry.
Jennifer Dean. Let me see what comes up. We're probably in a building that doesn't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I don't think the service
There's
is
no
too good.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So let me write that down. IG. I was gonna call you Jennifer Jenkins. How do you spell your name? Jennifer?
And then Dean DEAN and it's 07.
So that's what we're looking for
Yeah.
when we type it, when we get it back.
I think I have a picture of my face on there.
Hi. Oh, are you guys finished?
We are.
Okay, we're just finished.